Hi guys, welcome back to Tech Adventures with me, Christopher Charlton. Today we're going to be looking at my tool, Dispel. So today we're going to be using the plate from Tears of Steel. I will leave a link in the description so you can have access to that plate if you want. It's not a bad plate for testing out various things. So we're going to have a look at a few things first. We had a bit of a discussion and discourse as well around luminance and lightness and how they are pretty much the same. There are slight differences, but they're pretty much the same. I'm pretty sure the color space methodology I've mentioned before actually doesn't do the right calculation. So we'll have a look at that. So here is our breakdown in our waveform of our image. As we can see, green is quite prominent at the moment, being it is a green screen. This is the region of the face, and this is the region of the head and the lamp. So, for those of you who don't know how to view a waveform. So, when we look at luminance, and then if we look at lightness and the LAB color space, what you'll notice is they are the values are not actually changing that much. They are actually changing, but it is very, very fractional, and the image isn't changing that much. Now, if we zoom all the way in, and we have a pixel pic of this, you will see how much it is changing. There is change going on, so if we zoom in on here, you'll be able to see that there are changes as well, but they are very, very minute. There we go. Now you can kind of see those changes actually taking place. So my point being is that luminance and lightness are incredibly similar, to a point where I'm almost certain it is meant to be the same equation. I'm pretty sure that the LEB color space color matrix may not be doing the best job of it. I do think that the luminance keyer actually does a fair better job, because the luminance value here is actually correct when it's actually coming across. Whereas when you do it in the lightness, it is actually not quite correct in comparison to the plate. So we're comparing it to the plate. So the luminance is staying the same, whereas the lightness, if you will, is varying just fractionally. So something to keep in mind. So there was something else I discussed on channel actually with Pedro, which is how to get a good Dispel straight out of Keylight without having to do anything. Like you don't have to download any tools or anything. We'll look at that, and we'll look at the quality of the Dispel as well. So first off, we grab our Keylight, and we'll do this from scratch. So you go in, you select your key color. So in this case, I'm selecting this nice little green here. I'm not doing a region selection, I'm just doing just one pixel selection for this. I'm not being super picky, you can be, but in this, I'm just showing off how to do it. Next up, we will look through here, and we'll see that it works as a normal key would, as you'd expect it to, in that it's taking out our green channel. However, in how it's doing this, we're losing the luminance that is meant to be here for a Dispel. So to actually do that, what you can do is click on your color wheel icon on the screen color, and that will bring up this. Now yours may not look exactly like this, and I'll show you how to change that. So yours might open like this, and it may not have these buttons switched on. So I always drag this out this way because I prefer to work left to right, and I turn these buttons on. I'd never put dynamic on because I just don't like dynamic. It just throws me off every single time I use it. Now the values that we're interested in is the TMI value, which I believe stands for temperature, magenta, and intensity. I could be wrong at that. So we take the specific slider that I'm interested in is the intensity slider. So we're going to take our intensity and we're just going to pull it all the way down to 0. And there you go. There's your Dispel. Now, we're not getting the best quality Dispel ever. As you can see, there is some discrepancies in the colors here. There's some blues and yellows coming through, which, yeah, is kind of problematic in some ways, but it might get you where you need to go with the shot. So with that, there is a fairly instantaneous Dispel, but you'll also notice that we've got the fringing going on with some red values and some blue values, which means it's not doing the greatest job ever. So it's not bad for a quick Dispel, but it's not the best Dispel around. With that, we will now have a look at the actual tool, Dispel. So this is my one. Now this has gone through a lot of iterations of recent, as I've kind of been messing around with it more and more and kind of realizing better ways to improve it. So the idea of this tool is for it to be a one-stop shop Dispel. So the idea being that you can click once and the job is done. So we'll have a look up here. So I've just disabled it at the moment so I can color pick, and I'm going to color pick the same green so we've got a good comparison, and I'm going to enable it, and we will see that we get a very good Dispel. Now let's have a look at some of the values first off. So our luminance is coming through exactly correct. It's not changing our luminance at all, which is really nice because lots of Dispel tools don't actually achieve that. Some get very close, some just don't even bother with it. So you'll also notice that the color is actually being correctly averaged out. So not only is it respecting the luminance, but it's also respecting the balance. And you'll see there isn't any like reds or blues popping out like we had with our key over here. This doesn't respect the luminance in this one very well in the key light version, whereas in this one it respects the luminosity quite well. And whilst this one is doing a good job of flattening the green, this one is doing a very good job of it, to a point where there is no colors being seen through. So it doesn't have this fringing that's going on. So essentially you could just use it straight up like that, and there's a very high quality Dispel done. It does also give you an alpha, so the area that is being dispelled, and it also does give you a spill output, so you can also view the spilled area. So you can do nice little tricks to that. It also spits it out, so you can shuffle it out. So there is passes that you can pull back out and do tricks with. So if you want to, you know, for whatever reason, pull out your green and then change it to a red, for example, and multiply it. You can change the value of it, boost it up a bit, put it back on top. I'm not saying that's something you'd want to do, but you can use it for color corrective purposes. More like a color grading tool in that sense. And because it's got such an accuracy, it is makes it a very good tool for that. Better than what some color grading softwares have. So moving on, apart from just being able to do that straight as a one-stop shop, which we can just kind of, and it'll just work. It doesn't just work for just green, which is something I was very thingy about. I want it to work for any color, so you can do this dispel for any color, and you can see it's normalizing quite well in those regions. So we are getting some, green and purple fringing because of, spectrum side of things, but it's doing a very good job. Depends on which color value you select, so it is really down to you understanding what the correct color value is to be selecting. So we can also do it with the blue down here too. So we'll pick one of these and boom, just like that. It's very, very rewarding. It does actually pull up the grain as well that is in that same color value. So yeah, it's a pretty rewarding tool to actually utilize. It just works. It's so nice. I'm very happy with it. So there are other choices as well. So you can use an external key. So let's say, for example, you're used to using your own keyer. You have your own kind of keyer or Dispel. You can use either of them with this, and it will try to its best ability to actually push your values into the correct values of being actually having the luminosity respected and having the values cancelled out properly. So it tries to, in its best method that I can come up with at the moment. In saying that, I do feel the internal keyer is actually far better to use for it. But there are case scenarios where you might want to have a more inclusive range. You can use multiples of these and kind of do it that way, or you can use like a hue correction tool, which I'll be showing through in this example. So we have some external keys. I'll have a quick look at them. So this one is prime out, and it's just, it's doing pretty hard chew. And then we're also putting in a road on the alpha, so the alpha is like getting affected pretty heavily from what it was to what it is. So we do have choices in our key type to do RGBA or alpha. So I've done that as a deliberate choice because you might be using a keyer or you might be using a spill suppression, which you can use spill suppression techniques with this, but again, I would probably suggest use the internal, but this is more just so you have variety in choice. So inside of it, it is doing an edge extension kind of workflow. So hence why there is a blur and a size attribute. Probably shouldn't need to change this, but just so you have an understanding of what those parameters are there for. That's just how it kind of helps calculate what is Dispel and what isn't. Particularly in those kind of color range case scenarios. So more for the RGB side of things. So we'll have a look at number 1. So here it is, it's doing the alpha side, so it's got that smoothness that we have coming from our road, and you can see, it's doing a pretty good job based on the alpha that was going through there. So that, I'm not sure if you'd want to use that, but it's there. It kind of gives you an understanding, and if we switch it to RGB, you can see the switching between the two. So it can do the calculation based off the RGB channel. So let's look at that in the hue example. So moving on to our hue correction. So our hue correction, we're kind of doing some stuff on the red suppression, some stuff on the blue suppression, and then we're just pumping it through, and it's trying to balance it out to the best of its ability. Now this can be a very useful tool for when you're trying to just refine, like be very soft with just the color range that you want to affect, because like in this case scenario, the face is very much a very similar color across it, so to be able to get more nuance with it, you can use a hue correct, and because it's affecting the RGB channels and not the alpha channel. When we switch to alpha, nothing happens. So, you know, we have a look at that. There is nothing changing on our alpha, so switching to alpha has zero effect. However, if we were to actually cancel out the alpha, it would affect the entire thing. As you can see. So there is it in practice. And then we'll go to our chroma key. So a chroma key, which I would advise against. It's not a good tool for this tool specifically. As you can see, it's bleeding through a lot of the green, even though our Kia is doing a pretty good job of actually grabbing the image and spilling it. Oh, sorry, grabbing our image and keying it away. So maybe just click around. So it's not doing as finessed job as Keylight does, I don't feel. So hence. So yeah, chroma key does a little bit more of a heavy-handed kind of approach to it. Make sure that these values are the same so we can kind of more correctly cross-compare these. So yeah, I wouldn't use the chroma key because it is corrupting our edges more than probably what you want it to be doing, in honesty. So that's why I personally wouldn't utilize it in this case scenario. But even if you switch to the alpha side of it, the RGB side of it, sorry, it just bleeds through. It's not a very good choice for this case scenario. So I thought I'd just show it as there are good choices and bad choices to use for it. And then we've got the luminance key, which is a little bit of a different kind of setup. Doesn't work quite so well with the C Dispel. Works very well with the C key, which is very similar in design. So how this one works is you can affect. Oh, we're set on RGB. So because this is only on alpha, we need to ensure that it's on alpha. But then when you do, you can affect just the low ends and have them become desaturated. So you can use it in a kind of a color corrective kind of approach. Plus, if you want to, you can actually do it in the reverse and just have it affect your high ends. And by having your high ends pulled out, you can then grab those through your spill, grade away, multiply, and plus them back in on top. So you can have a lot more kind of color corrective capabilities through that. So yeah, it can give some interesting results. But I think that that covers the tool for today. This one will be available on my Patreon. So this is my Patreon as well, just to spruik it all the way. So it's under Chris Sheldon Tech Adventures. Yep, so there's the pricing and what you get for each one. Jump on over there and sign up so you can not only get the tool, but you can also get access to how the tool is created and how it works underneath the hood. Alright, I think that'll do it for me today. Bye.